Well, now to a fresh take on Afghanistan from one of the most talented wordsmiths in Australia. As you know, General David Petraeus formally took control of NATO command in Afghanistan last weekend in a ceremony in Kabul, saying the campaign faced a critical moment, though he said, "We are here to win." Well, June was the deadliest month for Allied forces since the war began 9 years ago. More than 100 soldiers were killed, among them 5 Australians. Mentoring Team Alpha is one of the Australian units based in the Miribad Valley in Uruzgan province, and 2 of the engineers killed last month were from the Alpha unit.
Every time you leave a patrol base to go on patrol, it's always going through your head. Yeah, this is the last time I'm going to walk on 2 feet. Am I going to be able to go home in 8 months' time and see my family?
That's Corporal Matthew McKeever from the Alpha Company. The ABC's Four Corners program recently spent a month with the troops in Uruzgan province, and they were there when those young engineers lost their lives. I'm delighted to say that journalist Chris Masters was the man on the spot, and I am thrilled to welcome him back to the Radio National Breakfast Studios. Chris, good morning.
Hi, Jerry.
It's rare to get such access to Australian troops in Afghanistan. Chris, how long were you there all up?
We went over for a month. We were about 2 weeks with Mentoring Team Alpha in Patrol Base Wally and Ateek right in the Miribad, and we were in other places in Tarankot as well with the soldiers.
And what's the team's role?
They are a mentoring team. The principal role is to build capacity within the Afghan National Army, but they also engage with the local community to provide assistance, infrastructure support, and they're there to kill the Taliban. I mean, there are gunfights virtually every day. It is an amazingly complex battlefront where you're going out there, you might spot someone in the distance who picks up a rifle and has a shot at you, then puts the rifle down and goes and stands among children and leers at you. You're patrolling through fields where the farmers get cross at you for damaging the crops, but if you walk on the footpads, they'll put IEDs, roadside bombs there, that the soldiers say will not only blow us up, but blow the kids up as well. So every step is a difficult step in Uruzgan.
It's clear. I mean, obviously, that is an amazing story that you tell. And of course, it's soldiers and engineers, isn't it?
They are engineers. The soldiers
are engineers.
The Mentoring Team Alpha is essentially a company of infantry and sappers, engineer soldiers.
Until recently, the Alpha Company felt they had been quite lucky. Let's listen to Private James Smith.
There's so much luck that we've had over here. Just our platoon alone in the last 4 months, the luck that we've had, people tripping on pressure plate IEDs and they hadn't gone off, and going in tripwire fields with wire wrapped around your feet and strap to a grenade and it hadn't gone off, IEDs going off in front of people, and just the frag was buried too low so they didn't get fragged. It's nuts how much luck we've actually had.
But after you spoke, Chris, to Private James Smith, things changed. Sappers Jacob Morland and Darren Smith were killed by an IED. How common are they in the area? Very common.
Even the times we went out, we encountered about 4. I saw a couple go off, and of course I heard the one that killed those 2 soldiers.
And you were actually sharing rooms with them, weren't you?
Yes, I was in the same hab, as they call it. It's about a 12-person tent, and the first night that I was there, there was a space, and they put me in there, and the first soldier I met was Darren Smith, and of course he would bring the dog in to meet the other soldiers. He's a charming, lovely, gentle fellow, and of course, you know, you were attracted to him because of the dog. So he was the first guy I met, and then I had to move bunks a couple of days later, and I was right next to the other fellow, Snowy, who was a wild character completely. He was the unit character. He was the local comic, and I used to lie in bed listening to him play his video games. He'd play these war games by night and then go and do the real thing the next day. And I must say, I'll never forget that. I'll never forget those moments. They were wonderful guys.
How does a unit gather itself when two of its members who were as important as those two men, die? I mean, I know this is a question that we all think we know, but you were there watching it. I just wonder.
Yes, it was a rare privilege to actually get a sense of that bond. We know this mystical thing about comradeship and the bond that soldiers have, but it is actually impossible for outsiders to really know it. We got a bit of a sense of it that day. It was a horrible day when that bomb went off. The impact went right through the company.
Did they all? How soon do they find out that two members?
They just seemed to know instantly. We heard these bombs going off quite a bit, but this one was different. It wasn't anticipated. I saw these faces go grey. I listened to the radio traffic and I saw the soldiers respond.
This is 109 liner, call sign 12, one stop, grid 2158 2000, read back grid 2158 to Mike 875, no vital signs.
You were back at base, were you?
Yeah, it was about 2.5 kilometres away. We'd gone out on patrol that morning. At 3 o'clock in the morning, in that hab, all the soldiers got to their feet. They woke me up. I thought, well, no point in trying to go back to bed. So I got up and got dressed as well. And we went out on patrol as well. But we went to the east and they went to the west. So we were on patrol listening to the radio communication, and we knew that they had discovered some caches of weapons. We found our way back to the base and were at the base not too long when we heard this explosion. And then for the rest of the day, I watched that company absorb this horrible news of what war is really like. I watched the company sergeant major gather the men together and say, come on, we're only halfway through. You've got to be staunch. You've got to do this for your mates. And then I watched them go out again the next day.